everyone, and welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Jenna Cottrell alongside Dan Fates outside of Highmark Stadium as the Bills wrapped up practice on Wednesday. Before we go any farther, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as the channel continues to grow. We really appreciate it. Now, the Bills are getting ready, if you didn't know, to face the Kansas City Chiefs this week. It's kind of a big one for fans, maybe more than it is the players, or at least that's what they're telling us. But we do have an update on some injuries because the Bills left Sunday's game pretty banged up against the Texans.
Yeah, the big name that jumps out in my mind is Matt Milano. He did not finish the game on Sunday. He did not practice today on Wednesday. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. We know this is an injury that he's had in years past, something that can be nagging, so that's definitely something to look out for. Gregory Rousseau also did not practice. He kind of popped up on the injury report. He is dealing with a toe injury, says Sean McDermott. Then Trey White, another guy, he was dealing with a shoulder injury. He was in a red non-contact jersey. He was limited at practice, but they did get some guys back.
Yeah, good news on John Feliciano. As you mentioned, Jordan Poyer, Taron Johnson was a full go. So those are things, because obviously we know that the Chiefs are going to try and pass the ball on the Bills. So,
I think so.
Good news there for the most part. Obviously, the one continuing to watch will be Matt Milano. He was working off to the side today during practice. But as we get to the actual practice, we got to talk to some players and the coach, Sean McDermott, after practice. Cliches, I think, is the name of the game this week.
Cliches. It's another week. It's the biggest week because it's the biggest game coming up because it's the next game. Let me see. Take it one day at a time. Any ones I'm forgetting?
No, I think you got it.
Okay, yeah.
Because obviously for us, watching even in the media, big deal that this is a rematch of the AFC Championship game. The Bills only lost 4 games last year. 2 of them were to Kansas City. So, hey, is there any rivalry? Is there anything that you really want to get back at them for? No.
I was kind of shocked because you can ask that question about 58 different ways of like, how do you prepare for this team as a competitor? Because you lost to them twice and in the biggest moment last season. But every guy we talked to, whether it was Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Tremaine Edmonds, Dawson Knox, it was, hey, yeah, it's a big week because it's a big game because it's the next game.
Okay, and to some respects, as if you haven't listened to the Buffalo Plus podcast, that's also up on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, I somewhat agree. And as I said in the podcast, I said this is a game that can change their franchise and give them a boost.
Yes.
But it also doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
In the sense of, if they win, it means, I guess, more in the standings.
Yes.
Possibly of a home field advantage for the AFC Championship game. But look, Sean McDermott was actually almost seeming grumpy as we continue to ask him questions about how big and how important this game was. And he's like, well, you know, last year's different. That's a different team. This is a different game. None of these games are, work together.
Yeah.
They kind of do.
Well, I would, if I were Sean McDermott, which, believe it or not, I'm not, but if I were, I would be preaching this the exact same way. Because like you said, in the standings, this is an important game. If the Bills were to have a head-to-head win against Kansas City later on in the year, that's huge. It's also huge because if the Bills were to get a win, that's a psychological thing where they can finally say, hey, we beat the Chiefs and we did it at Arrowhead. But that being said, it is week 5, and this is a team that has done a very good job in terms of the Chiefs beating you. So you want to keep everyone kind of just humming along. Well, you don't want to get anyone too high or too low because it's week 5. You don't want to derail the season over, if it were to go bad, a loss.
Correct. We would always say if the Bills lost, well, it's week 5, no big deal. But it has to go the same way. That if you win, it's week 5, it's no big deal.
No, I don't agree. I don't think it's. See, this is where we differ so much.
This was the podcast where gloves almost came off.
I was gonna say, but I will say, I think you see things a lot more. It's either this or that, and I believe that it can be. I live my life in the middle. You're on either end of the spectrum, I guess.
Hot takes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
psychological.
And I think, but what Sean McDermott, he even said that it's just another game, and he's trying. And I think that that's what he should be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
And Stephon Diggs said, this isn't a winner-go-home game. Trying to put this game a little bit more into perspective, because for us, it's the biggest game because we have to cover it. I think that's part of it. So
yeah, that's true.
And when they do go into Arrowhead on Sunday, they will face an extremely hostile crowd. Josh Allen says that Arrowhead is probably the most hostile crowd in the entire NFL and one that he's ever faced.
It was so sweet because we asked, one of the reporters asked what other environments are comparable, and he said Nebraska.
Yeah, Wyoming kid.
Yeah. I know, it was just...
Not necessarily big SEC crowds.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, you can't knock him for that because that's what he knows, but it was just interesting hearing the comparisons. And, again, I'm not saying Nebraska doesn't have big crowds, but obviously NFL stadiums, especially, you think of Arrowhead, you think of Seattle, places like that. You think of here, actually, as well. But, yeah, an environment where Josh knows it's going to be hostile, but I found it so interesting because he did mention one guy in particular who just loves feeding off that noise.
Yeah, it was Stephon Diggs, and he said that he was the one guy that, he goes, good wide receivers. That's what they like to do. He goes, really all of our wide receivers, but I got to ask Stephon Diggs. I went on and I said, hey, Josh said that you love to silence hostile crowds. And he's like, yeah, I do. And he goes, Arrowhead is so loud that you can't hear anything.
Yeah.
And that was something that he goes, it's so loud, it's almost silent.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. It's just him and his thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
And look, the Bills didn't play at a full capacity Arrowhead crowd last year in the AFC Championship game. It was about 17,000. It was about 20%.
Yeah.
They're going to be at full capacity Sunday nights, all juiced up, well hydrated.
Yeah.
That place will be loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that having a guy like Stephon Diggs where he's done it, he likes that crowd, I think that may help settle Josh in.
Oh, I completely agree. He talked about it being like a deafening silence, which I think can be a thing. Now, a lot NFL teams will pump in crowd noise for practices, so you get to hear a little taste as a reporter on the sidelines. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant, but I could understand how you would be able to tune that out at some point because it's just so much fever pitch that you kind of just, it all blends together. That being said, I think Steph has been huge for Josh in terms of his development, both on and off the field. And you talk about him just being able to calm down Josh in the huddle.
Yeah.
And look, Josh has talked about, we talked about at length at how this is a big game for Josh. Does Josh need to win more than anyone else on the Bills? And you're not going to get that answer out of Josh, but I believe that this is a big deal. We know this game is a big deal, especially for fans, considering the implications that I think that can come with it.
Well, and not only that, it's not only just Sunday Night Football. It's the entire football world will be watching. It's also Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. It's MVPs. It's AFC Champ. It's all of those things.
Yeah.
And the one last thing I want to say about the deafening noise and how loud it is at Arrowhead, Josh said that, because I asked him last week, he talked about doing the wet ball drill where Sean McDermott just pours water all over it to prepare for the elements that they faced on Sunday.
Which they did.
So I saw Josh kind of going through some silent counts with Mitch Morse and kind of what he wanted to do. And I said, is there anything else that you can replicate? And he goes, it's preparation during the week, because when you break the huddle, that's it.
Yeah.
That as soon as somebody walks that far away, you can't hear them.
Yeah.
Which is mind-blowing to me in the fact that it's all going to be hand signals. He said Josh and the guys this week, that's what they're drilling in. So you cannot replicate the amount of decibels that Arrowhead Stadium will be on Sunday night. What you can try and prepare for is when you can't hear anything, what you're going to do.
You would love that moment. If you were a player, you would love that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs said he wishes that we could sense that.
He literally did, yeah. Stephon Diggs, yeah.
I'm not great at football.
Yeah, no. You're not great.
Athletic-wise. But we can cover the team. We hope you appreciate the coverage. We'll have tons more throughout the biggest week of the Bills season so far, because
it's the next game.
Yeah,
I zoned out for a second.
Yeah. We're running out of cliches here.
I know.
Tons more coverage as always. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. A new podcast coming up.
And we also have our Instagram page. And then on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, we are live on the 13 Wham Facebook as well as on Buffalo Plus here. So be sure to subscribe. If you have any questions as well, we want to hear from you, comments, all that. We are closing in on 10K, and I can't tell you just how much it means to us. Like, it's been such a wild ride, I feel like. And we just really appreciate all the love that we've gotten, because we do put a lot of work into this and we have fun with it. So we always appreciate when people enjoy it and like it back.
I will be in Kansas City with Mike Catalana. Jenna Koch will be holding it down in Fort. We'll have tons more coverage leading up throughout the entire week. We appreciate you again watching. For Jenna, I'm Dan. Thanks for watching.